Here's a test. We're going to use ScreenFlow to see if we can show people how to make a podcast. So I'm actually experimenting right now by using the camcorder as a video format and the screencast to record the screen. I have them both run at the same time. I'm not sure how it's going to work. So first thing you want to do is you actually want to open up Skype. That's how we do all of our podcasts for Growing U Geek. Now, we just don't use Skype alone. We actually use a third-party program called Call Recorder, which it's $15 to purchase. I highly recommend it. It's very easy. This will pop up right here as Call Recorder. What it does is it gives you options to record your call. And I have all of our names right here. And what I basically do is I start a conference call. Now, the nice thing about this is what you can do as soon as I find the option. Let's go here. You get a recording option with Call Recorder. How we record our shows, I record them completely uncompressed. Typically, we record for about 90 minutes. Typically after that, I get about a 3.5 gig file. What this is an uncompressed MOV file, QuickTime MOV file, and it's a dual track file. One track is my voice, because I'm recording locally. The other track is the other guy's voices. What this allows me to do is, typically those guys, their audio is pretty level. Mine sometimes tends to be a little louder or a little lower, so I don't walk over it. So what I can do there is I can, gauge mine to match theirs. Once I do that, what I do actually, I used to convert them right to AAC. With this Call Recorder program, you actually get a set of tools. It's actually in a folder called Movie Tools. What this allows you to do is allows you to take the MOV file and convert it to whatever you want. You can convert it to the internet, which is actually, this is a new version. I haven't done this yet. I have used Convert to AAC. I've never used Convert to AIF. I don't use AIF. I use Convert to MP3 to convert a raw audio master file. I still like to keep that that raw unedited file just in case I ever need to go back and re-edit something. But you can think, we have 10 episodes. You're talking my GarageBand files. I import all my uncompressed audio right into GarageBand and get the best audio quality as a master. That's holding my master audio, so I don't have to worry about an uncompressed master. But on the chance that I actually lose those, I want another backup. So what I do is I convert all my raw call files to MP3. Not only does Jerry like to have a copy because he likes to listen to them and see the difference between editing, I like to have an archive copy as well. These are also, this is a split movie tracks, which will give you 2 tracks out of 1 file. It will give my voice on 1 track, their voice. That's how I would level them. If the audio was completely off, I've done this in the past where I've actually imported both uncompressed audio files into GarageBand. My voice, their voice, I've leveled it off, saved it as uncompressed CD file, and then I've imported that uncompressed audio. So split sides of conversation, I'm assuming it's the same thing. I actually haven't used that. I used to convert the uncompressed audio directly to AAC. I actually stopped doing that because it takes typically about, on the file size, between 5 to 10 minutes to convert that. Well, to import the uncompressed audio into GarageBand only takes about 4 minutes. So it's actually, it's better quality and it saves time just to throw the uncompressed file directly into GarageBand. So that being said, for those of you that aren't on a Mac, the only program I can honestly recommend for those of you who aren't on a Mac is Adobe, I had a brain for it there, is Adobe Audition. I was going to say Adobe Recorder, but that's not right. Adobe Audition. There is a program out there to record Skype. I don't remember what it was. We used it for our very first beta podcast back in 2007. I don't remember the name of that program though. But for all those Mac fans out there, nice thing is all Macs come with all the software you need except for Call Recorder, which to start a podcast is going to cost you 15 bucks. Can't beat that. So once we're done with our Skype call, you'll get a little folder on your desktop. I save it on my desktop called Save Calls. And what I do next is I bring up GarageBand. Now, first time I bring up GarageBand to use a podcast, what you do is you set everything up. Mine's already pre-set up. Automatically has our authors in there, and all the other kind of fun stuff you need to set up. So basically all I do is when I load up, Here's what this is actually our MySpace clip to show you what an old episode will look like. I'll show you episode 10, Ball Mullet, what its file looks like. And basically what we have here is we have our art, which will run the podcast track. That would give us our art through the entire track. We have our title. This is all the metadata. Artist, our advisory. Our description is our show notes, which we also put on our website. I also put the artwork on there. I keep all my tracks. I found this to be the best. Set all the tracks to the podcasting male narrator noisy. It seems to give the deepest voice, especially for males, even females. It gives a pretty good voice, but it also gives it the best resonance that we're all in the same room actually talking, rather than three of us being how many miles apart. First track I make is I rename these so I can keep it as Boot Up, which we can actually hear that track.
It's time to boot up.
That's all that is. That's a pre-recorded audio. Next is I'll go in and I'll record the time and date of each episode. I do this once I
This is Growing Up Geek, episode 10 for Monday, May 5th, 2008. Ball Mullet.
That's all that track is. Then once I do that, I overlay this with the intro music, which my time and date, which if you can see on here, my time and date file, I have it right here is pretty much the start of the actual music. This is the XP startup sound. Actually, you can see down here. This is the XP startup sound. This is the start of the actual music, and then I have it fade out. What I typically do is I like to have this, which is the date and time, sandwiched somewhere in the middle, but I like to have at least 2 beats of the music before I start putting in the date and time. Now, these little check marks here, for those of you unfamiliar, what this basically says is what's on top, what's on bottom, what's the dominant audio file. Meaning, boot up is down, which means any audio file that's up, right here, this is the up, well, this will actually lower the volume to let this go right over the top. I keep the boot up and the jingle on the same wavelength, because if you don't, there actually is a slight pause in, actually, well, I'll show you in a second. I like to have the time and date, or the date and title go above the jingle, volume-wise, and the same thing with the content. Now, if we add the music in, this is what we get here.
It's time to boot up.
Now, it seemed pretty well. Now, if I was to change the time to boot up to an up file, meaning it's supposed to ride on top of the music, you'll hear a volume change.
It's time to boot up.
Did you hear it went down and then it went back up? To avoid that, I keep that down. This way it stays on the same level.
Boot up.
Same level. Now, with the date and title, you'll hear that.
This is Growing Up
Music
Geek,
goes down.
episode 10 for Monday, May 5th, 2008. Ball Mullet.
And then the final step of this whole process, which I'll back this up, is the fading in of the actual content.
Good evening, geeks, and welcome to episode 10 of Growing Up Geek.
And that's what I do there. Now, on this episode, we actually had something which we've never done before, which is extra voices at the end of the credits. Now, what I do is, here's my exit credits. Treat it the same way I do the intro credits. However, I wanted the voice of Jerry and I talking about the ball mullet and the title of the episode. I wanted that to fade in and fade out at a certain point. So what you do on these is this little arrow right here gives you a volume track. And all you simply do is you mark a dot where you want it to begin. Like, say if I wanted to... okay, this is faded out. This fades out. See if I want to fade it back in on the end here, I would just click a point and drag that back up to my 0 dB level. That would fade out quickly and then fade in slowly. It's actually pretty intuitive. But what I did there is, here, I'll let you hear the fade.
And we'll see you later.
Here comes exit music. You notice the volume changed there a little bit. Now, you'll notice fade.
I think I'm gonna have to go and add Ball Mullet to that dictionary tonight.
I'm telling you, that's so the title of this
Yeah, if you
episode.
watch
is
this.
Ball Mullet.
Oh, I knew
right
it,
out.
I knew it, I knew it.
Fade out. Even though there's still audio there, it fades out. Then what I do after everything is said and done, all we do is export the podcast to disk. I export my first one as an AAC spoken podcast, which gives us 64 kilobits stereo. I include the artwork, and then once this is exported, I take that to iTunes and I convert it to my MP3. And that's pretty much about it. And if I can figure out how to stop this recording, I will. There it is.